Shabbat Shalom. Shabbos. You look very well dressed. You can do it.
Genesis 27. Genesis 27, verse 1. What? Yeah,
Hello again, Rabbi.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good job.
How's Tulane?
So great. I love it there. They're coming around. Okay, here we go. Are there any more sheets? We may run out. Oh yeah, Bill has them. Or Norman has them. Here we go. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם בין יבין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי 6 שנים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינחש שבת וינחש ושמרו B'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam orei b'riah gafen. Amen. L'chaim.
Do you think they can afford it?
The water or the wine?
Blessing for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah.
Torah.
Amen. Okay, so Torah portion this week is called Toldot, which is generally considered one of the Torah portions about Isaac, of whom we have sort of the patriarchs, the least information about Isaac compared to what we know about Abraham and Jacob from the Torah. But I don't really want to focus today on Isaac. I want to focus on Rebekah. Okay? You've heard of Rebekah? Okay. Now, Rebekah means what? Anyone know what the name Rebekah means? Rivka? You ever saw all the names in Hebrew? It's not like English names. Hebrew names mean something. Right? Rebekah. Anyone ever? So the root is Resh Bet Kuf. The hey at the end makes it female. But Resh Bet Kuf would be the Ravak. Now, if it were Resh Vav Kuf, Ravok, that would mean bachelor or bachelorette. But it's not with a Vav, it's with a Vet. So Ravak, a Rebekah, could be a type of calf. Could be an animal. Same as Rachel. Rachel also is like one of those ibex type animals. But the root, Rabak, could mean to tie down. To tie down, but also in the sense that you're connecting two things together. And who's Rebekah? She's the mom in the middle between the first generation and the third generation. And so she's the one that connects the generation of Abraham and Sarah to the generation of Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. You see that? Okay, so just what we've said so far is that Rebekah, who is the middle matriarch, now, I mean, it goes 1, 1, 2, right? Because you have Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. But she's the one in the middle, and her name just happens to mean to connect. You see that? Okay. Now, up until this point in the Torah, we don't hear a lot from Rebekah. We don't know a lot from Rebekah. But we do know one or two things. What do we know so far? How did she come on the scene? Exactly. She gave water to the camels. And who asked her to do that? Well, I mean, who was she involved with in that story? Eliezer from Damascus. Right? Eliezer Dameshek. Eliezer, the guy from Damascus, who was the servant of Abraham. So she was really giving the camels to the family of Abraham. Now, how many camels were there? A lot, okay? Torah tells us a number. 10. There were 10 camels. So, does it matter to you if there were 8? I mean, now we know one of the things about watering the camels when she says, why the test that Eliezer gave Rebekah to whichever woman would come and water his camels, why all of a sudden that would be the person to be the mother of the Jewish people, right? To be the mother of Jacob, who becomes Israel, was because she believed in hydration, right? You've heard of and that's why Israel's the leader in drip irrigation and things like that. Right? So does it matter? The Torah wants us to believe that there were a lot of camels, that it takes an inordinate amount of time to give lots of camels water to drink. And water is also very heavy, to schlep it back and forth from the well. She must have been schlepping water all day long for Eliezer and his camels, and that shows how kind she was. But the Torah tells us that there were 10 camels. Wouldn't you be just as impressed if there were 8? I mean, do some of you say, look, 8 is fine, but for the mother of the Jewish people, it's got to be double digits, right? So then you say, well, I'm a Jew, and I like numbers, and 10's an interesting number. 8 would have been better. Why? 8 would have given rabbis, for thousands of years, a great sermon. Because this Torah portion comes every year in Kislev, the Hebrew month of Hanukkah, with 8. So that would have, then we could have said, well, it's a forerunner to Hanukkah, and she knew, and that's why there were 8 camels, and there was only enough water for 1 camel, but it would have, right. That would have been something. But no, there's 10. Okay, so let's not say why there's 10 yet. Let's just point out for now, and we'll get back to the 10, that knowing the Torah as we do, and knowing that there are certain numbers that tend to repeat themselves, that when we hear that there are 10 camels, that might teach us something. Now, what are some other interesting numbers? 6 is an interesting number because 6 is everything that's within creation. And 7 is Shabbat, which is like a little bit beyond creation. And 8 is out of this world, beyond creation. Right? And that's why the bris has to be on the 8th day. Because the 8th day is, creating something with God that's out of this world. Right? It's going beyond what this world. Things that are created on the 8th day don't exist. Because everything that was created in this world were created on the first 7 days. Including Shabbat, Shabbat was the creation of rest. Rest didn't exist until that point. That's what the Midrash says. So 8 is like beyond creation. 10 we know is an interesting number. 40 we know is an interesting number. 100 is an interesting number. 120 is an interesting number. 10 is a very interesting number for a whole variety of reasons. But I could give you, if you read the Haggadah, you could do 1 through, Echad miyadeh, right? There's 1 for every number. Echad Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Shabbat Shammai. Right, we can do 1 for every number. All right. So now, all I've said so far is that we're interested today in Rebecca. And the first story that we had was the story of her watering the camels, which was enough to convince her to move to Israel and marry someone that she's never met or seen before. But you know what she was really saying? I've never met or seen him before, this guy in the other country. But the guys who live here, I have met and seen them. So how much worse could it be? Can you pass this back?
What I wanted to comment is that Rebecca was never a random girl. There could have been 10 girls there in the well, but Rebecca was already handpicked from before by God because she happened to be the granddaughter of Milcah, who married Nahor. Nahor was the brother of Abraham, and her father was Haran, which was also a brother of Abraham. So really, she directly came from the family of Abraham. She was from the line of Terah. So God was handpicking her specifically to marry Isaac.
Well, look, Abraham said to Eliezer, go to where I'm from. Go to my family. And find someone there, because everyone here is an idol worshiper. We did this class. If you remember, we did. I might have done it for a lunch and learn, but there are other reasons why Abraham said, you know, Laban's family are idol worshipers too, but it doesn't mean that because Abraham was sending Eliezer to where he was from, that he was going to find someone. He was going to find idol worshipers there, but he couldn't find someone. He couldn't look around Canaan for someone who didn't worship idols. Maybe there was someone in Canaan who didn't worship idols. I mean, conceivably it was possible, but he couldn't even look. Why couldn't he look? Because the Canaanites were already been told, you're not going to inherit this land. And so Abraham needed, and Isaac is the one who inherits the land of Israel. Abraham needed to find someone who was non-Canaanite. But so he says, go to my family. They're the only non-Canaanites I know, that maybe there's a chance. However, Abraham was a prophet. So he knew where to look. And he knew where God would have already, like you said, designated someone for Rebekah. I mean, it's amazing the way in the Torah, it always works out the way it's supposed to. Except when it doesn't. All right. Okay, chapter 27, verse 1. We have another story. Now, everything that we've talked about Rebekah so far is that she's the most wonderful. She's kind. She doesn't worship idols. She feeds the animals. Strong-willed. Everything we know about her is wonderful. And then we get this story where she appears to be one of the most deceptive people in the entire Torah. Right? So now we have this story where she doesn't look so great. And it's a problem for us. So we want to try and reconcile this. Okay? All right, so Norman, we're at chapter 27 of Genesis, verse 1.
When Isaac had grown old and his eyesight had dimmed, he called his eldest son Esau, saying to him, my son, here I am, he answered. Look now, said he, I have grown old, and for all I know I may die any day. So pick up your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the countryside and hunt me some game. Then you can make me tasty dishes such as I like, and bring them to me, and I will eat, so that I can give you my heartfelt blessing before I die.
Okay, so a main fact that we have here, or a main clue that we have here so far, that will inform the rest of the story, is in verse 1, that Isaac has trouble seeing. Right? The Hebrew says, V'tichayena enav, which is like a very unusual way of saying it, but his eyes had dimmed, is one way of translating it. Rashi, I didn't bring it on the sheet, but Rashi gives 3 reasons why he has trouble seeing. One, as I look around at all your glasses, is that he's like every other Jewish guy in the world, and I mean, what would any of us be able to see? I can't even see you from here without my glasses. So, yeah. But the first problem is, according to Rashi, that Esau's women, all his wives and girlfriends and whatever, they worshipped idols, and they used a lot of incense. And that incense burned his eyes and upset him so much that he had trouble seeing. The second midrash that Rashi brings says no. When Abraham put Isaac on the altar when he was going to sacrifice him, the angel started crying, and the tears fell in his eyes. And they burned his eyes to the point, he couldn't have looked aside or closed his eyes or went like this. And the tears hit him in the eyes, and his eyes became dimmed. And then Rashi gives a third reason. So why would Rashi give 3 different reasons? Either he doesn't know, but normally what happens is he gives an interpretation, but he doesn't love it. So he gives another one. And he says, okay, maybe. But the video was grainy. I hope at my gala they're going to have t-shirts that say, the video was grainy. So the third reason is he had to be blind so that this whole story could happen. What story happened? To prevent Esau from getting the blessing. Because if Esau would have gotten the blessing, everything in the Torah would have been ruined. Because Esau was a terrible guy, he was an idol worshiper, and that would have been the end of the Jewish people. All right, now, what exactly does Rashi say? He says, Kadesh yitol Yaakov et habrachot. He puts it in a positive way. Isaac's eyes were dim, so that Jacob should be the one to inherit the blessings. That's it. So whatever he said was, Rashi's basically saying, look, I don't know if it was the idol worship, I don't know if it was the angels, but in some way God caused it that at this point in Isaac's life, he would no longer be able to see anything so that he could be fooled.
I have the microphone already, so that's good.
I keep meaning to put one just by YouTube, but
All right.
every week I forget.
So I don't think like Isaac had macular degeneration. That would have been like the most likely explanation, or cataracts. But I don't think it was ever an actual physical problem he had, and I don't think it was just something that developed just when he was old. Throughout his life, Isaac was just not able to see who was the right heir for the...
Okay, yeah, you're getting ahead a little bit.
That was
Yeah, you're jumping ahead. That's why you should always leave this to me. You should always leave it. I know where I'm going. Look, if there was Baskin Palmer, the Jewish people never would have inherited the land of Israel. All right, that's my image. So let's see. We're now up to verse 5, I think. Okay, Judy, verse 5, back in the Torah.
Rebekah had been listening as Isaac spoke to his son Esau. When Esau had gone out into the open to hunt game to bring home, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, I overheard your father speaking to your brother Esau, saying, bring me some game and prepare a dish for me to eat, that I may bless you with the Lord's approval before I die. Now, my son, listen carefully as I instruct you. Go to the flock and fetch me 2 choice kids, and I will make of them a dish for your father, such as he likes. Then take it to your father to eat, in order that he may bless you before he dies. Jacob answered his mother Rebekah, but my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am smooth-skinned. If my father touches me, I shall appear to him as a trickster and bring upon myself a curse, not a blessing. But his mother said to him, your curse, my son, be upon me. Just do as I say and go fetch them for me.
He got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared a dish such as his father liked. Rebekah then took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were there in the house, and had her younger son Jacob put them on. And she covered his hands and the hairless part of his neck with the skins of the kids. Then she put in the hands of her son Jacob the dish and the bread that she had prepared.
He went to his father and said, Father, and he said, yes, which of my sons are you? Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you have told me. Pray sit up and eat of my game, that you may give me your innermost blessings. Isaac said to his son, how did you succeed so quickly, my son? And he said, because the Lord your God granted me good fortune. Isaac said to Jacob, come closer, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not. So Jacob drew close to his father Isaac, who felt him and wondered. The voice is the voice of Jacob, yet the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, and so he blessed him. Continue.
Please.
He asked, "Are you really my son? Are you really my son Esau?" And when he said, "I am," he said, "Serve me and let me eat of my son's game, that I may give you my innermost blessing." So he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come close and kiss me, my son." And he went up and kissed him, and he smelled his clothes, and he blessed him, saying, "Ah, this